What's going on, Cowboys fans? This is Chris Daughtry, filling in one last time for Tom Downey. And though I don't know how many more videos I'll be doing, this one might be my swan song, the final build-up before Tom returns on Sunday for what could be one of the most nerve-wracking, season-defining clashes the Cowboys have faced in years. Dallas versus Chicago, the star against the claw, the Lone Star swagger colliding with the restless hunger of a Bears franchise that has been wounded, humiliated, and pushed to the edge of desperation. And because of that, they are dangerous. More dangerous than the record shows. More dangerous than the box score suggests. Because desperate teams can either crumble into dust or claw their way into the kind of fight that leaves the opponent staggering. And tonight, in the shadows of Soldier Field, with the echoes of history whispering in every gust of icy wind sweeping off Lake Michigan, the Cowboys must decide which version of themselves they truly are, the juggernaut that dreams of championships or the flawed pretender that falters when pressure boils. They call me Cowboy Chris around the office, but I'm not here to play games. I'm here to break down every angle of this matchup, every weak spot in the Bears' armor, every flicker of doubt inside Dallas's defense, every whisper of opportunity. And I'll warn you now, the stakes feel bigger than one September afternoon, because when the Cowboys ride into Chicago, they won't just be facing the Bears, they'll be facing the ghosts of their own mistakes. And to be blunt, they'll be facing the terrifying unpredictability of a wounded animal backed into a corner. Because let's be real, the Bears have nothing to lose, and that makes them lethal. So before we dive into the matchups, before we explore the places where victory can be seized or heartbreak invited, I need you Cowboys faithful to do what you always do. If you want Dallas to walk into Soldier Field and not just survive but dominate, hit that like button right now. Not because it's a gimmick, not because it helps the algorithm, but because superstition has its place in football. And maybe, just maybe, your click, your gesture of faith, is one more tiny piece of energy pushing Dallas closer to a win. And trust me, the Cowboys will need every ounce of belief, because the first matchup, and maybe the most glaring one, is the wide receivers of Dallas against a Bears secondary that is limping, wounded, and frayed, with Jaylon Johnson, Chicago's lone shutdown artist, their best and most disciplined defensive back, out for the entire season, leaving the Bears to roll with four men whose confidence has already been shattered. Tyreek Stevenson, Kindle Vildor, Josh Blackwell, and Nick Malloud, each of them bloodied last week against Detroit, each of them surrendering close to 100 yards and a touchdown, not collectively but individually. And if you think wideouts like CeeDee Lamb haven't noticed that, if you think their only receiver to find the end zone this season, the lone flame flickering in a dark offensive room, and then DJ Moore, silent so far, but silence can be deceiving. Silence can mask the calm before a storm, because Moore has burned defenses before and could erupt at any moment. And what better time than now? Under the bright lights, against a Dallas secondary that looks more battered than bold. Don't forget, Trayvon Diggs and Malik Hooker, two of the supposed anchors, were both credited with giving up more than 100 yards to the Giants of all teams, a fact that should keep Cowboys fans awake at night. Because if Daniel Jones and a patchwork receiving corps can cut through you, what will happen when the Bears, desperate for validation, start throwing haymakers with Odunze and Moore? Add in Cole Kmet lurking at tight end. Add in Luther Burden, the rookie weapon waiting to be unleashed. And you realize quickly that this isn't just some underdog mismatch. It's a knife fight in an alley, both sides bleeding, both sides flawed, and both sides knowing one fatal mistake could tilt the balance completely. But this is football, and football isn't just about who catches the passes. It's about who controls the trenches, who wins the invisible war in the mud. And so our third matchup to watch becomes the Cowboys' interior defensive line against the Bears' interior offensive line, a collision of brute force and sheer willpower. And this one, my friends, might decide everything, because the Bears rebuilt their line this offseason, shuffling guards, reinforcing the center, trying to give their quarterback and their rushing attack the kind of foundation Chicago football has always demanded. But so far, the results are uneven, shaky, and now they must face a Dallas interior anchored by Osa Odigizua and Kenny Clark, two men who don't seek headlines, who don't rack up gaudy sack totals, but who clog lanes, choke off momentum, and squeeze the life out of running backs. And the Bears know their hopes of control rest on the legs of DeAndre Swift, the elusive back averaging 4 yards per carry, who looked like a ghost from the past in Week 1, slicing through the Vikings before penalties and miscues dragged him back into mediocrity. And so the suspense here is unbearable. Will Swift be bottled up by the relentless interior of Dallas? Or will he find daylight, burst through cracks, and ignite the Bears' sideline with a kind of explosive run that changes the tone of an entire game? Matchup 4 doesn't take place in the trenches, but in the minds of the men holding the clipboards. Because this isn't just Dallas versus Chicago, it's Brian Schottenheimer versus Ben Johnson, two first-year head coaches on opposite ends of perception. Schottenheimer, dismissed, doubted, forgotten, given the job few wanted, now fighting to prove he belongs. And Johnson, the golden boy, the coveted hire, the offensive mastermind whispered about for years, still searching for his first victory, still finding that the climb from coordinator to head coach is steeper than expected. And here's where suspense becomes unbearable. Because these aren't just coaches calling plays. They're gamblers managing time, managing risk, living on the edge of mistakes. And in a game like this, one botched call, one clock mismanagement, one reckless fourth down gamble could burn an entire team. And as fans, we watch with our hearts in our throats because we know it will happen. It always does. Someone will make the mistake. And when it happens, we'll know whether it came from inexperience, arrogance, or simply the cruel randomness of football. And then there's the final matchup, the one few will notice until it's too late. Andrew Billings, the Bears' mountain of a defensive tackle, against Brock Hoffman, the Cowboys' untested center, starting his first game of 2025. And if that doesn't send a chill down your spine, it should. Because center is the heartbeat of the offensive line, the handoff point of every play. And if Hoffman cracks, if Billings bullies him into mistakes, if the Cowboys are forced to shuffle linemen mid-game, the entire Dallas offense could collapse like a house of cards. Dak under pressure, the run game suffocated, the receivers stranded without time to finish their routes, and suddenly what was supposed to be a mismatch turns into a nightmare. And the Bears, broken as they seem, rise from the ashes to drag the Cowboys into the mud. That, Cowboys Nation, is the suspense we live with heading into Sunday. The knowledge that, yes, Dallas has the weapons, the talent, the edge, but football is cruel. Football punishes arrogance. And in Soldier Field, against a desperate Bears team with nothing to lose, no lead is safe, no matchup is certain, and no fan will breathe easy until the final whistle. So buckle in, hit like, drop your predictions.